Co-creating deeper connection with me, Jemima. Starting with the premise that you are only able to alter or command your own experience and your own participation in any experience with someone else, and you are going to take responsibility for the results that you are getting. So it starts with you. Let's talk about where you give your power away currently. Unpopular subject alert. So the temptation to look outside of ourselves and to point the finger of blame and to analyze and diagnose what is wrong with everybody else's input in a situation of relating, or what is wrong with that person. That temptation is huge. And it's huge because it gets us off the hook. It means we don't have to consider the areas of ourselves that may be presenting and the areas that we are not comfortable being with or allowing. So how do we call our power back? I saw a really interesting, bold statement this week, which was, he's not emotionally unavailable, you are. Very bold. And very bold, and I had some feedback on it as well, saying wow, that's a very bold statement. And the truth in it is so uncomfortable, so hard to sit with, that we will make up a story to make this the offensive thing. This is an offensive item to me because I am not prepared, I'm not willing to sit with it and see the truth in it as it applies to me. Now this is the gold work in connection work. It's being in a safe enough container and setup with an experienced enough guide to be able to go there, to be able to go to those places that you would never normally look at, that you just don't want to be with. So how do you call your power back? Well, first of all, you have to give up analysing and diagnosing everybody else outside of you. Got to give it up. Give it up. Oh, it's hard. It is hard. What happens to your energy when you are forced to do that? I don't mean forced like someone made you, but when you decide that that's no longer serving you, what happens to your energy? Instead of shooting out over there, it has to stay in. It has to stay within your being. And all kinds of things can come up when we really allow ourselves to sit in the power of our own energy. First of all, our brain will make up all kinds of stories about how we are wrong, or we are not good enough, or how righteous we are, and how we're always right, and how once again we've been taken advantage of, or we've found ourselves in a very unfortunate situation and it's not our fault. The brain will, if you don't know how to get embodied, your brain's going to go off on a tangent. You won't be able to stop it. This is one of the major principles in martial arts, is that you drop the energy down away from the brain and into the body to avoid exactly this. There's no use for you up there. It might be useful if you're writing an essay or if you're in a debate, but it's not useful in terms of human relating or in terms of actually being in your lived experience as a human being. So you have to drop that energy back into your body. Start to interpret what signals your body is sending to you. And as much as you've just dropped the temptation to send your energy out there and diagnose everyone else, you need to also drop the energy away from diagnosing yourself. Now, these two steps are massive on their own. They're huge. They take a lot. And mastery of this process does take some time, and it does take practice. So if we're going to take full responsibility and ownership of our relating and of our consciousness and of how we're understanding connection at any given point in time, then there are a few questions that we can ask of ourselves that will give us clues. So one of them is, what are you not asking for? So in the refusal to ask for what is desired or needed, what's your secondary gain? Well, your secondary gain is that you don't have to appear vulnerable, is that you don't have to speak your truth, is that you get to be resentful, or you get to use this energy that you have, your life force energy, in being wound up and frustrated and stuck. When you are prepared to answer the more difficult questions, starting with what are you not asking for, you'll begin to get insight into where you are afraid. And that is probably one of the most important questions in any self-inquiry. What is the fear? What is the fear? Along with, what is my desire? So those two questions are absolutely key in getting yourself out of a hole and into the deep work of internal knowing. What is my desire and what is the fear? So the complaint, that bold statement about he's not emotionally available but you are, you can spread this out wider in any of your important relationships. Where there are resentments, they are signposts if you're willing to see them as such. So the difference between you being in a victim mode and being in a command position is how you use your own discomfort. How you use your own discomfort makes the difference between you being powerless and in victimhood, or in command and facing what it is that you desire and becoming an energetic match for it. And again, this is mastery, is that instead of using energy in the kind of woe is me position of being a victim, of being taken advantage of somehow, of exclaiming that it's not fair, of the kind of adult version of the 2-year-old kicking and screaming on the supermarket floor because they can't have the sweets. Instead of that, there's a curiosity about, how is this happening? How is this process unfolding? And where am I at choice in this? Whenever you're at choice, you're back in command. You're back in the driving seat. So we, as humans, we get confused or kind of muddy or unclear about where we are at choice, especially when we're in a long-term relationship, because we have taken on expectations and the way things are as our patterns and our routines, and we imagine that we are choiceless. There's always a choice. It's just sometimes you don't like the choice you see, so you're not willing to choose. But as to whether you actually have choice or not, that is worth considering. It's a question worth asking when you are faced with a position where you feel stuck and you feel like there is no movement. What am I choosing? What am I choosing? We're always choosing. It's just whether we're conscious about it or not. These kind of musings and this level of information and understanding only hit when there is space in the system for it, which is why some get very reactionary to strongly worded truths and posts like, he's not emotionally unavailable, you are, because the patterning has for so long been, it's everyone else's fault. I must be right, because if I'm not right, that's unthinkable. If I'm not right, then I can't trust myself, or I have things within me that are unexamined and they are too big for me to want to look at right now. So it's all confronting. It's confronting when we get the status quo shaken. It's like the very ground beneath our feet begins to move and shake. And part of our human makeup is this return again and again to homeostasis, which is our safety and our equilibrium, where we are not at threat. So we don't have to go into fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all those compensatory behaviors, because everything is the same. And the difficulty comes when we keep things the same at the cost of them being good. Even positive change shakes us, sometimes to the core, because we have to evaluate what we've been doing up until now and where we find ourselves right now. Honestly, we have to look at that really clearly, and it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. So that's the beginning, you know, that is the beginning of deeper connection, is that we take on this principle of, okay, it starts with me. I am going to take responsibility And I'm not going to continue to be a child and look outside of me for the cause of my pain. I'm going to be honest about what I find inside, and I'm going to either get the support that I need or create the conditions I need to sit with that in truth. That's the beginning. And then, of course, we need to learn how to communicate what that truth is in a way that other people can hear us. Now, that's another big one, especially if there has been a tendency to close down or to not have the ability to communicate clearly. Then our voice comes out weird, and sometimes we are too loud, or it's a bit clumsy, or it's not loud enough because it's not something that we're used to doing. So that's stage 2-ish, kind of, is that we learn how to communicate so that other people can hear us. And if we are in relationship, we learn by practice how to hold space for ourselves and our own experience and the other person's experience while we're communicating. Yeah, sounds like a lot, because it is. A bit like when you go on your first driving lesson and the instructor is telling you that you have to change gear and you have to steer and you have to check your mirrors and you have to remember your clutch control, and you're just like, how on earth am I going to do all of these things? So we have this what is called conscious incompetence, and then we get practiced and we move through to conscious competence, where we can do the things but we're aware of what we're doing. So we're concentrating and being like, yeah, okay, I know I have to check my mirrors, I can do that, as well as changing gear, I can see where I'm going, I can navigate, until you're so practiced that it becomes unconscious competence, where you are just driving and you're doing all the things, and you've got the music on, and you're eating a sandwich, and you're talking to the passenger, and it's all going without a hitch, and that's practice. And that's why we have many driving lessons before we take our driving test. So when we talk about co-creating a deeper connection, it's important that everyone knows what they're signed up for. So you can't force deep connection with someone who is just not up for that. But when you have the agreement that that's what is wanted from both parties, then you can co-create it, because each of you knows the process, like the processes at work, and what your efforts are towards, and you have compassion for the situations that you find yourself in. So you both know sometimes it will be difficult, and you both know sometimes you get it wrong, and you both know that you're absolutely doing your best to communicate clearly, to take care of your own needs as far as it's possible, to ask for what it is that you want. And your expectation within that agreement is that the other person is doing the same as you. Problems arise, and I've been in this situation, when there is a tacit expectation that the other person is doing the same, in this case as me, and that's just not true. And I'm expecting, with no evidence and no agreement, that that is the case. It's just a recipe for disaster. So being able to get to that initial agreement, whether you've been in a relationship for a really long time or whether you're about to start a new relationship, is probably one of the key, most important elements of preparation as you either move on to a new stage or get really involved with someone. Because this co-creation will at times take everything that you've got, even if it is what is wanted. It's not always easy because it is constant practice. And attention to your own process is essential in the maintenance and the thriving of any relationship that you want to go well. So not even a love relationship, not limited to that, but to relationships with your children, with your parents. And this is where there is this delicate gauging of what level each party wants to operate on. Especially with relationships you've grown up with. So for instance, with your parents or with your children, where they've grown up with you. If you want to change the dynamic of a relationship, you need to make that clear to everybody involved, because you have to respect their sovereign choice, whether to agree with you or not. They might not want what you want. Another hard to take truth. And so few people are ready, willing and able to operate at this level of clarity and honesty. It's hard to ask for what you need and want if you don't have much experience of doing that in your life, which is many of us, many humans. So it takes practice, and it takes surrounding yourself with other people who are doing the same, so you begin to normalize it, so that you don't get a jolt on your nervous system every single time you attempt, because this becomes normal in the circles that you move in. Everyone's doing the work. So how you use your discomfort, whether you push it outwards and turn it into blame on an external party or factor, or whether you go inwards and you dive even deeper into it and go, okay, what is this? What is it? Show me. Show me. What is the wisdom? What wants to be seen? What wants to be witnessed? What wants to be held? What wants to transform? What wants to dissolve? What is no longer serving me? Ask a better question, and you will find a better answer. 100% every time. I'm going live on Clubhouse in half an hour. Come and find me at Jemima House.